Hey, what is up guys? Joseph here, and this is the number 80 through 71 of my top 100 movies of all time.
Number 80.
Star Wars Return of the Jedi. This is my least favorite of the original trilogy. A large part of it is the Ewoks. As a kid, I actually liked the Ewoks, but as I grew up, I began to not really care for them. But I didn't really hate them until I found out that the original plans for the Ewoks were Wookiees. Wookiees would have been so much better. The Wookiees could have been more believable, taking down the stormtroopers without the stormtroopers looking like a total joke like they do now. Other than that, the showdown between Luke and Vader, the Battle of Endor was good.
Number 79
is the Avengers. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Like, there's few superhero castings that are pitch perfect to the character. Robert Downey Jr. is one of them. Hugh Jackman is another. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is another. But Robert Downey Jr. was the greatest Iron Man. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, awesome as Hulk. Scarlett Johansson, great as Black Widow. Sam Jackson, great as Nick Fury. Tom Hiddleston, one of the greatest supervillain castings of all time. Like, the only one that I didn't really care for was Jeremy Renner. And that's really because he was useless until the Battle of New York. The Battle of New York might be my favorite action piece in superhero movies.
Number 78
is 12 Years a Slave. Now this movie is not for everybody. This movie is very hard to watch. Not that it's a bad movie. If it was a bad movie, it wouldn't be on here. But it's the content and the depiction of slavery. Michael Fassbender plays one of the most, if not the most, despicable slave owner in movie history. It was a great performance, but the character itself, I wanted him to die. There are some scenes that involve violence and rape and some other things that were very hard to watch. This movie holds nothing back. Like, it's one of those movies where you'll only probably watch it once in your life and it'll never leave you. The only thing that I didn't like about 12 Years a Slave was Brad Pitt. He just felt out of place for some reason for me.
Number 77
is Jaws. The movie that put one of, if not the greatest director of all time, Steven Spielberg, on the map. Great performances by Roy Scheider, Richard Dreyfuss, and actual driver of the boat, the owner of the boat that was like a war veteran or something. Them three go off and try and find and kill a man-eating great white shark. That's essentially the story. In terms of story and enjoyment, awesome movie.
Number 76
Hachi: A Dog's Tale. It's very hard to explain enough to where people who have seen it know what you're talking about and why it ranks at that certain spot, but not enough to spoil anything. And I really don't want to spoil this movie. Hachi: A Dog's Tale was spoiled for me. Even though I knew the ending, it didn't affect my reaction. I still don't want to spoil anybody, because if I knew that going in and I still reacted the same way, the feeling that you'll feel watching this movie at the end would probably be more of that particular emotion. But the reason it ranks this high at number 76 is because of that fact. It's a very rare thing to accomplish where someone knows what's going to happen in a particular movie, and yet when that moment happens, they still react as if they didn't know what was going to happen, if that makes sense.
Number 75.
Is The Breakfast Club. Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Ali Sheedy. Those 5 play as like the one of each high school stereotype, I guess. You got the basket case played by Ali Sheedy, Princess played by Molly Ringwald, the jock Emilio Estevez, the nerd Anthony Michael Hall, and the rebel Judd Nelson. And they start the movie off with hating each other. They end the movie with, and it's not really a spoiler because it's like the first line in the movie. They end the movie with being friends.
Number 74.
Number 74 is The Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Jordan Belfort. It's basically a rise and fall. Not gonna say what causes his rise or what causes his fall, but I'll leave it at that. I've probably already said enough. Great performances like DiCaprio, the supporting cast from Jonah Hill and Margot Robbie to Matthew McConaughey and John Bernthal from The Walking Dead. I like the movie, but I don't love it as much as everybody else does.
Number 73
is Jurassic Park. It's basically a fun family adventure. It's like enough said after that. It's dinosaurs. The dinosaur effects, for the most part, still hold up.
Number 72.
Taxi Driver. Great performance by De Niro, where he plays Travis Bickle. He comes back to America and works as a taxi driver, and he comes in contact with a variety of characters. I really don't know what to say without spoiling it. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not putting that spoiler up unless I know the majority of people have seen it.
Number 71
is Gone Girl. I will say that it's probably my favorite Ben Affleck performance. It was the first movie that I saw of his that I thought he could actually act, because before Gone Girl, the only movies that I've seen of his was Good Will Hunting, which he didn't really have that much to do in it acting wise, Daredevil, Pearl Harbor, and it was a little bit. I didn't finish watching the whole movie. I just watched like a couple of scenes here and there from Armageddon. I wasn't really that big of a fan of Armageddon, the few scenes that I saw of it. I wasn't a fan of Daredevil, and I wasn't a fan of Pearl Harbor. Good Will Hunting, I remember liking, but that's another one of those movies like Seven and Sound of Music where it just been too long since I've seen it, so I couldn't really rank them. But I remember liking Good Will Hunting. But I remember he didn't really have that much to do in terms of acting. Compared to Robin Williams and Matt Damon. Gone Girl was the first time I saw that he could actually act while carrying a movie. And it was because of that turned my feelings about him becoming Batman. Because before that, I was like pretty much everybody else, where I wasn't really fond of the casting, because the only movies that I've seen of him where he is the lead was Pearl Harbor and Daredevil. Other than Ben Affleck, Rosamund Pike, which I honestly don't know why she hasn't been in more stuff since then. Rosamund Pike was the breakout star. Not saying she hasn't acted. I'm sure she's done like a couple of things here and there, but in terms of like big movies, I don't recall ever seeing Rosamund Pike since Gone Girl. Neil Patrick Harris, great performance. It even has a great performance by Tyler Perry, and probably the only great performance that I've seen. Like, I've seen the Madea movies, and I've seen that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, and both of them, in terms of like performance, this is his best that I've seen.
Alright, that's it for this video. Be sure to hit that like button, it really helps me out, you guys. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't miss more videos at number 70 through 61. As always, like me on Facebook at JMax97, follow me on Twitter at JMax97, links in the description below. Mash out.